Hi guys, it's Circle M. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're going to try to take a quick look at the FLIR Breach. I'm trying to keep this video nice and short. It's easy to run long when talking about this because there's just so much cool stuff that comes with it. So first we're going to take a look at the device. I'm going to run you through kind of the quick specs on it, what to do if you're wanting to mount it on a bridge like this, and then we're going to take some looks through it with the internal recording feature that it has so you can kind of get an idea. Later, when I get the opportunity, we're going to try to also make a detection range video like we did with the Leopold thermal, and we'll take it all from there and run. If you guys have requested videos or things you want to see, by all means, be sure to put it in the comments section. I'll be happy to try to do it for you if I can. First things first, it comes in a very well packaged case. This is I think it's a Pelican case. And I really appreciated the fact that FLIR sent it with that because that's really nice. It's a secure way to store it and travel with it and not have to worry about banging it up or damaging it. Case is really well made. It comes with two cutouts, one for the breech and then one for the accessories. I use it to store the PVS-14 as well, so it has multiple uses. High quality case. The breech itself does not use the traditional PVS style screw. It uses its own little rail here. When I was talking to the guys over at FLIR, they called this the mum rail. And I'd originally called them because I noticed there were some inconsistencies in the size of the rail. The bridge I have that it's mounted to is from MOD Armory, M-O-D Armory. And I have to say, we'll do a separate video on the bridge whenever I get the opportunity. But I have to say that is some top quality service. They really took care of me. Their bridge is great. It comes with everything you need to do a setup like this. There's no funny business about having to buy the bridge and then a bunch of parts to get everything to mount properly. It comes ready to go out of the package. Customer service was top-notch. They called me on the phone several times to make sure everything was exactly the way I wanted it. You can switch a breech and a PVS-14 back and forth. You can do two PVS-14s, two breeches. It's really flexible. It's really nice. The FLIR Breach has three of these rails. It has one on the top and bottom and one on the side. In order to be able to see through it properly, I had to pick the side one. The screen on the inside does rotate, so if you flip it upside down, the screen will rotate with it, but it does not rotate for the up and down. So if you want to be able to read the readout features that comes on the inside, like your compass and your angle, you're going to need to have it in either the up or down horizontal position. It has the onboard recording and picture feature, which is kind of nice if you, for whatever reason, want to be able to record something. It has a very, very long recording life and an incredible amount of pictures that you can take, but we have to talk about the battery life on this thing. It is terrible. And again, when I was talking to the guys over at FLIR, they're aware of this. This is a common problem with thermals, in that they chew up and eat through the batteries. So you're either going to need to have spare batteries, like I've got some here on the back with my counterweights, or you're going to need to hook it up to some sort of external battery. I have an external battery that's normally used for a cell phone charger, but it's compatible. We had long talks with this, and they basically said, find the biggest battery bank that you can. You can plug it in through the nifty little port they have on the side right here, run the cable that it comes with to your battery bank, and it'll run off that until that battery bank is empty. So that's a great way to extend the life of the breech, especially if you're doing a lot of outside stuff. With a battery in, I found that it only runs for about an hour to an hour and a half, and that's with a pretty good quality CR123A. I also have a set of rechargeables that I'm going to try out as well, but the battery life, it just isn't great. So you really need that separate bank if you're going to be doing anything for any extended amount of time. Compare that to the PVS-14, which has something ridiculous like 40 or 50 hours that it can run off good batteries for, and this is the guy you're going to be limited by. Quick answer about all the string I have over here. The mount that came from Wilcox that I have is not very good. It's super loose, super wobbly, and I don't really trust it, so I tie everything to the helmet because I'm very nervous about dropping it. If you are going to want to run this on a bridge, in order to get it to line up with a PVS-14, so your eyes are at the same distance, you're not going to be able to mount it directly to the correct spot in the bridge. It will require some modification. Again, I told the guys at FLIR about this. They're working on it. So the newer ones that they should be rolling off the line should have that problem fixed. But if you were to mount this in the proper spot, it would sit about right here, which means you wouldn't be able to see the PVS-14 and the breech at the same time. The square screen, it takes a little bit getting used to. You have to have it pretty close to your eye in order to be able to get a good picture through it. You can adjust the screen side to side, up and down. Very useful, very handy, because if you couldn't move the screen around depending on where your eye was sitting, you'd have a really, really hard time being able to see through this and a PVS-14 on the bridge. So the fact that you can do that is really nice. Now that may be a problem that only I have from being super huge. My face is really big, so getting everything adjusted is hard. If you're a smaller guy, you might not have the same problems with this. If you are going to run it on a bridge, do be advised as well that your brain probably is not going to like looking at two different pictures at the same time. Now, if you have a special brain, perhaps like me, then you can look through the two of them at the same time. It doesn't bother you. I guess my power level is pretty high. But for whatever reason, it bothers some people. The only way to figure out if it's going to bother you or not is either to find one and try, or to get 2 toilet paper tubes and try to look at 2 different things at the same time and walk around like that for a little bit and see if that bothers you. In order to, in my opinion, get this to run really, really well, if you're trying to make a ghetto fusion system, which is kind of what I've done here, your PVS-14 needs to be white phosphor. You can adjust the gain on the breach, which is really nice. And then you can turn the brightness up and down more or less. And that if you set the brightness to the right level, you keep it pretty low, and then you dial up the gain on the PVS-14 so the brightness is really high, and then you set the settings. You can adjust the settings on the breach as well. If you set the settings just right, it kind of fuzzes out, and your brain will ignore the breach and see through the PVS-14. And whenever you have something hot walk into the frame, the PVS-14 will be drowned out by the breach, which will suddenly light up and illuminate that hot object. And then you can open or close your eyes or switch your brain back and forth between your eyes depending on how strong your eye dominance is. The MOD Armory bridge is very nice, like I was saying earlier. They worked really hard with me to get it to adjust properly. It will swing down pretty far on both sides, but again, if your eye distance or your face height and level is a little goofy, you might have problems with this. I had to adjust this the maximum height up it would go and the maximum distance out it would go in order to get this to work properly with my face. So just be warned that you may have some fitting troubleshooting that you need to do in order to get this to run properly. And like I said, you can see how wobbly this is. I also had conversations with that customer service to try to fix the wobble. This is as tight as these screws can go, and they more or less told me if you want something better, you're going to have to upgrade to a different mount. And I'm just not going to justify spending that kind of money on that when I can just do the same thing with duct tape, zip ties, and bungee. It is extremely heavy. That's another thing that a lot of people don't realize about bridge mounts. In fact, I kind of knew, but I didn't really appreciate it until I started to wear this for a few hours at a time on hog hunts and things like that. It really, really, really will drag your face down. So I got the counterweight. It was a cheap one I found on Amazon for a couple of bucks. If it works, it works. This one works just fine for me. I had to load it down with extra batteries, partially because it was chewing through batteries really fast, and then also partially because it just wasn't heavy enough with the weights. It said on the website that these were lead, and as soon as we got them, I could tell immediately they weren't lead. They're steel. Even though I'm a research chemist, I do a lot of work with metal. You could smell the cutting oil still on these. They don't scratch. They're obviously not lead. They got wet and they started to rust. So buyer beware. You may actually need to either buy from a more reputable company or get your own lead weights if you want something that's a lot heavier. But this setup works for me now with all the extra batteries I've crammed in here. If you want to be able to run a battery pack, you can buy the specific one that has the fancy mount that'll lock into the rail, or you can use a lot of cordage to tie a big battery pack like I have on there. The battery pack I had was for camping, so it has a solar panel on it, which is pretty nice because you can use thermal during the day. It isn't a nighttime only thing, so if you're out and about and you want to do some fun stuff during the day as well, there's no reason you can't stick it on the helmet, swivel it down, and look through it. The MOD Armory bridge does have a dovetail disconnect for the PVS-14 if you are hoping to just run the breach on it. So again, I recommend them. They didn't pay me anything for that. I didn't receive any. This is a discount. That's my legitimate opinion on it. So Take it for what you will. I think it's good company, good people. They also, in their discount section, have a lot of good night vision for really, really cheap. So if I ever need some more, or any of my friends need some, I'll definitely be sure to recommend them. So be sure to check them out, guys. With that being said, let's take a quick look at the quick start guide that it comes with. It comes with a much more detailed manual that explains some of the finer adjustments you can do on the inside. But the quick start guide kind of runs it down for you really, really easy. You just got to stick your battery in. The buttons, there's only 3 of them. They're really easy to use. The center button is your press to kind of select things, your camera, your video. Your navigation buttons, you can adjust the diopter, the focus to get it just right on that back wheel there. And then you have a main menu that you can select through to change different things on there. So on the palette, you have a whole bunch of different shades of thermal that you can kind of filter them out there. You have your traditional white and black hot. Those are pretty useful. I like those. You have rainbow, which is painful to look at. You have iron bow, which it has limited usefulness in my experience. Sepia and Arctic are also kind of painful to look at because of the strange colors. And then you have outdoor alert, which is currently the one I leave it on because I find that the most useful with my homemade fusion system here. In your enhancements, they have a default, they have an outdoor and indoor, and a sky and sea, if I'm remembering correctly. And you can actually change the contrast, sharpness, smart scene gain, and the AGC speed. So if you tweak those settings a little bit, and this is going to take practice and probably a helper or a pet or something to look at while you tweak the settings, you can get kind of what I was talking about, where it just fuzzes out and your brain ignores it until an animal walks in, and it pops up with this nifty little orange outline and a hot black center if you get these set just right. And like I said, we'll take a look at it. You can watch and look at your pictures with the onboard video recording in the screen, but it's a lot easier if you plug it into a computer. You can calibrate the compass, and then these are the margins where you can move things around to reset it to the factory if you need to. So, enough talking. Let's get out. Let's take a look, see what we can see. Alrighty guys, what we had to do here is we're using my phone to record the audio, since unfortunately all we can record is the video with the FLIR, but this will give you a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about with if you get the settings just right. Everything kind of fuzzes out. We're going to look at the PVS-14 as well to get you an idea of what's what. But here's a hand, and when you're on the outdoor alert setting, whenever you get something just right hot in it, it'll pop up in this neat little outline for you there. You can see it FLIR auto-adjusted itself to the current temperature settings, and it'll do this a little bit to try to give you the best, most enhanced picture. But this gives you the idea of what I'm talking about, where if you're scanning and it's set for the animal or animals that you're looking for, it'll pop them up there for you. So now let's take a look through the various settings that it has. Oops, I took a picture accidentally. Let's take a look at the various settings in the email that we can go through here. Enhancement. So here's where we can pick our different ones. You look and you can adjust all these different things to get exactly what you want. Let's change our settings here. We are in outdoor mode. This is one of the ones that it comes with if we find the dog. Again, you can see it's very similar to the settings that I already had it on. There's not much that's different with that. We can switch it to the next one, which is, whoops, indoors. This kind of fuzzes it out a little bit more. It tries to give you a different take on the settings. Again, each one is kind of for its own independent use. And then here's Sky Sea. There's not much difference in between them. If you're looking for something specific, you will have to try to get exactly what you want just by trial and error. Next, we're going to go to the palette settings. So you can pick between your outdoor alert, which is on, the Arctic setting, which, like I said, is kind of painful to look at. I don't particularly enjoy it. Let's find the dog. There we go, I found the dog. It has usefulness kind of in its own way. Again, each of these settings is going to be affected by whatever other settings that you've applied to the contrast and everything else, so take that for what you will. If we go to Sepia, again, you have, I guess this is a little easier on the eyes. I don't particularly like it. I find it harder to pick things out. If we switch to Iron Bow, again, you kind of have a a little bit hard on the eyes with the purple and the brighter colors. Again, I don't think these extra color schemes that you get are quite as useful as just the traditional ones, and then the outdoor alert you can see on the screen. It's kind of hard to actually read if you set it in the wrong spot. We have the Rainbow HC. Again, this one hurts to look at. It's just a little bit too neon for me, a little too bright. And it looks a little grainy. The colors on here are so extreme that it's hard to see much of anything, in my opinion. You could still pick up the dog just fine, though. Black Hot's more traditional again. I like the clarity that Black Hot gives you. There's not any funny business with it. You just see what you need to see. Same with White Hot, just in the other direction. Now it's White Hot. I'm still going to leave it on the outdoor alert. I like that one the best. It works well with the PVS-14, so there's no need to mess with it. Recording is recording, and settings is where you can do all the various calibrations and fancy business. You can see I've moved the margin over a lot in order to be able to see through it. The Bluetooth is not something that is up and running yet, because I talked again to the guys on FLIR about it, and they said you're kind of out of luck. There is, when you go to power down, the little standby business that it pops up for you. They said they intend to release that later. That's not something that they have out yet, but they're working on it, and soon they'll have it for us. So hopefully when it comes, that'll be really nice, because right now when you power it down, it stays off. Let's take a look through the PVS-14 on the camera lens, and I'll try to give you guys a kind of an idea of how this works, where if you set the settings just right, you can kind of blur them together. Before we do that though, let's take a quick look at the brightness, where you can dial it up until it gets really, really bright. Again, the brighter and brighter you run the screen, the faster and faster it eats through batteries. I leave it on the lowest setting because that works the best for the PVS-14. So, if we look through the camera lens here, you can kind of see through the PVS-14. It is set for the nighttime conditions that we're on right now. There's no great way to do this since I don't have a mount for this, but you got the PVS-14 on one eye, then you have the Breach on the other eye. The Breach is a lot brighter because I have the gain turned down, but to your eyes, it looks a lot better. The gain's turned up a little bit now, so you're looking for the dog. There's your dog. There's your dog. You can see that she pops out a lot quicker on the thermal, so I really like the being able to switch back and forth between them. I can use one to do the locating and then one to do the shooting with the IR laser. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I'm sorry for the ramshackle video here. I don't have the best of camera equipment, so this is just kind of plug and play. But hopefully for those of y'all who are looking at this, this gives you a pretty good idea of what you're getting into, and it'll give you a better idea of what you want. And thank you guys again for watching. I hope you leave me a comment, tell me what you want to see or things like that. I'll be happy to do it for you. I hope you have a great time. See you next time.